U.S. House Democrat Jim McGovern says it is essential that the government here listens to the people. Well, Congressman McGovern joins us now from Washington. Sir, thank you for joining us. And first, your thoughts on Carrie Lam. The Hong Kong chief executive has again apologized. As you know, she has not withdrawn the bill, nor has she announced any inquiry into allegations of police violence. You're thinking about her and her leadership. Your reaction?
Yeah, well, my advice to her would be stop apologizing and listen to the people of Hong Kong. Withdraw the extradition bill and then initiate an independent investigation into the use of excessive force against these peaceful protesters. She ought to listen to the people of Hong Kong.
Do you think Carrie Lam doesn't deserve to remain as chief executive of Hong Kong?
Well, that's entirely up to the people of Hong Kong. But my advice to her would be to listen to the people. The people have made it very clear. Millions of people took to the streets in violent protests, demanding that the extradition bill be taken off the table, and basically standing up for their rights. And I think it was quite inspiring for me to be able to watch all that unfold.
You and other U.S. lawmakers across the political divide have been watching closely the situation here in Hong Kong and been very vocal about the situation here. There's that criticism from mainland China that, quote, foreign forces are responsible for the protests in Hong Kong. Does that give you pause? Does that make you think twice about weighing in on the crisis?
Yeah, well, you know, mainland China always uses that excuse when something happens that they don't like. The bottom line is millions of people on their own took to the streets and courageously demonstrated. They don't want mainland China to be able to enforce the kind of laws in Hong Kong that, quite frankly, the Chinese people in the mainland are subjected to. I mean, we all know, you know, China's human rights record has deteriorated, and the people of Hong Kong don't want to, you know, be subjected to extradition by the Chinese government for whatever reason they want. And by the way, it's not just the people of Hong Kong that can be subjected to extradition. It's also people from the United States and other international players in Hong Kong as well.
Yeah. Yeah, but that point aside, you know, why are you and other American lawmakers fundamentally concerned about the fate of Hong Kong? You know, is it about freedom, democracy for Hong Kong, or is it about China and checking China's growing power?
Well, for me, it's about human rights. It's about defending the human rights of the people of Hong Kong. I co-chair the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission. I think the United States, if we stand for anything, needs to stand out loud and foursquare for human rights. The other thing, too, is Hong Kong has a special economic and trade designation by the United States. You know, Senator Rubio, Congressman Smith of New Jersey, and myself have reintroduced the Hong Kong Democracy and Human Rights Act, basically asking Congress to determine whether or not Hong Kong is sufficiently autonomous in order to receive these special trade preferences and economic benefits. So we're interested in this for a whole number of reasons, but my interest primarily is on the issue of human rights. The people of Hong Kong have spoken, and the international community ought to stand with them.
Got it. So you're saying that your interest in what's happening here is not necessarily about fighting against China, but fighting for human rights in Hong Kong. Now, we heard from the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who said that President Donald Trump will raise the issue of Hong Kong human rights with Xi Jinping at the upcoming G20 summit. Your thoughts on that meeting? Can Donald Trump save Hong Kong?
Well, I hope Donald Trump raises the issue of human rights in Hong Kong when he meets with President Xi. The words human rights have not been in President Trump's vocabulary, unfortunately, and so I hope that this is something that he raises. But look, this is a serious matter, and you know, no matter what you know comes out of the White House, I think people ought to realize that the United States Congress is paying very close attention to this and is very, very concerned about what is happening. We were horrified by the excessive force used by security forces against these peaceful demonstrators. But let's make no mistake about it. This is an indigenous movement. This is millions of people in Hong Kong, you know, taking to the streets and demanding that their rights be protected and demanding that their rights not be eroded.
Yeah, and we'll have to see just how invested Donald Trump is in the issue of Hong Kong human rights when he has to deal with the trade war when he sits down with Xi Jinping. A question about the long-term view here. You know, how invested should the U.S. be in the ongoing fight for Hong Kong? Because 2047, you know, that is the date when Hong Kong will fully return to China. It is still a few decades away. You know, will the United States, under multiple presidencies ahead, stay committed to Hong Kong?
I hope so. I mean, I hope so. If not, you know, we're not only letting down the people of Hong Kong. I mean, we're betraying our own values. I mean, we talked about one country, two systems. I mean, and two systems means that Hong Kong would be autonomous. And if they're not, then we need to reevaluate our policy toward Hong Kong and the economic and trade benefits. Look, with regard to China, I want a good relationship with China, but the world should not be silent while they erode human rights on the mainland and while they try to erode human rights in Hong Kong. I mean, the Chinese government's record on human rights is abysmal, and we've seen that with their treatment of the Uyghurs, human rights defenders, the Tibetans. I mean, it is atrocious, and the world needs to speak up. Again, human rights ought to matter in our economic and foreign policy.
Representative Jim McGovern joining us live. Thank you so much, sir. Take care.
Thank you.